What's up, YouTube? Point Man Podcast back with another video. Give me the HBO special. That's the Help a Brother Out special. Hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Today's video is going to be Hugh Hefner clashes with Feminist on the Dick Cavett Show. This is an interview back from 1970. I'll be covering some of the interview, not the full interview, because it's pretty long. But let's get right into the video.
Well, what is it you want done, if you could wave a magic wand now, that would release you from the yoke of the suppression that you all talk about? What would do it quickly? Is it a whole change of attitude in the Western world?
Yeah. It's a change in education, really. Women are brought up in really hundreds of ways. I mean, from the time they're 2 and 3 years old, to be cute and coquettish and intellectually unserious, to seduce people instead of saying what they want. Mm-hmm. I think it would be, what we would really like is for there to be no necessity for seduction in the world at all. And particularly for there to be no necessity for women to seduce men to get what they want.
Well, now, there's some of you, and I find it hard to not say some of you, because there are different voices speaking for the women's liberation movement.
That's very interesting, because she's assuming that women seduce men because they have to, and not because they want to, because they love attention in a lot of settings, and if they can find the easiest route to get to where they want to go, they'll do it, which is pretty much human nature across the board. Men will use the easiest route to get their results. Women will use the easiest route to get their results, and that's no surprise. And this is what you see when it comes to OnlyFans. It's just the easiest, it's the path of least resistance, right? It's the easiest way to get the money you want. So that kind of idea, I think that's going to be a tough one to fix. I don't think that we're going to ever be at a time where women aren't using seduction to get the results that they want. Prostitution is one of the first, businesses, one of the first things that was ever sold. So that's going to be a tough one. Let's continue the video, though.
Who reject men altogether. They won't sit in the same room with a man if they can avoid it. Are you two of those ladies? And if so, what are we doing here?
I think we're probably more optimistic about the ability of men to change. We think there's going to be a struggle, and we don't think that men are going to give up their power and privilege easily, because they benefit from oppressing women. They really do. Hefner has built an empire based on oppressing women. The day...
Is she talking about the same men that have fought and died in wars throughout human history to protect women and children? Or is she talking about the same men that invented birth control, or the ones that invented tampons and pads, which exclusively benefit women? I don't know of any inventions that I can think of, at least. Maybe you guys could give me some that women have created exclusively for the benefit of men, like men have done for women when it comes to tampons and pads and feminine hygiene products. So that kind of idea always throws me off, but let's continue the video.
One lady that we spoke to, who's a member of your movement, would not come on tonight with you, Mr. Hefner, because she said it would be like putting Stokely Carmichael on with George Wallace. I don't know which of you is flattered by that, but...
Feels like Wallace, eh?
I don't know which of you is which, but have you had this reaction before tonight?
Yes, I think Playboy's been singled out along with, the Miss America contest and some other things as, as the extreme example of what the new feminists feel is the wrong image for women. But, having been described as an oppressor, can I respond just a little bit?
All right.
I'm more in sympathy than perhaps, the girls realize with...
Women.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm 35.
Than the ladies realize. I use girls referring to women of all ages.
You should stop.
You want to be called a boy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I get it. I guess. Whatever. I get it.
I always felt it was complimentary, but
Never thought you'd have your mouth washed out for saying girls.
no, that's right. I'd never thought of girl as being, but I think there's validity to it. I think there's validity. I'd never thought of it as being, condescending.
That's because your magazine has an
wait,
image of women at an arrested development.
Well, let me respond. Let me respond for just a moment, and then we'll
May
really
I just say
kick
that
it back
the ladies in
and
your
forth.
magazine have the opposite of arrested development?
Now here. First of all, the girls in the magazine are admittedly young. The average age of our male reader is 26, so there's a certain logic to that. Mm-hmm. But in terms of my attitude on the feminist movement as it exists now, I think that women over generations and centuries have indeed been oppressed. I think there's no question about it.
Yeah.
It's only a relatively short time that they've had the vote, and a short time before that they were allowed to own property. I think there are still many areas in society in which they do not have equal job opportunity. One of the thrusts of the feminist movement is for better abortion laws. I think Playboy has done as much as any mass media in terms of trying to accomplish exactly that. But I take issue and separate in this one rather fundamental area. There is usually a parallel made between female emancipation and racial equality.
Right.
And
Always
I
trying
don't
to
think
piggyback
it's the
on
same
civil
thing.
rights.
Even though the feminist movement grew out of the civil rights, the current feminist movement grew out of the civil rights business. For this reason, I don't think that the color of a man's skin is any more important than whether he is blonde or brunette, blue-eyed or brown-eyed. I think whether you are male or female is the beginning of who you are as a human being. I think it's important, and I think that it is important emotionally as well as physically. I think there are differences, and I think there should continue to be differences. I think what we want to try to do is find roles in society that are not as limiting as they've been in the past, and they have been far more limiting for women than men, admittedly, but very limiting for both in the past. I hope we're going to evolve into a society in which the broadest spectrum of opportunities exist for both men and women, but I think that to begin with, we are, I like very much Mary Calderon's comment in a recent Playboy interview in which she said, she's less interested in women's rights than human rights. I think that it's...
Would you like to respond, Susan?
I certainly would. The role that you have selected for women is degrading to women because you choose to see women as sex objects, not as full human beings.
Well, it obviously
hold
is
on
degrading...
now. The day that you...
It obviously is
I want to
degrading
say,
a lot
I
of
haven't
women.
finished. The day that you are willing to come out here with a cottontail attached to your rear end. He has made the degradation of women a condition of employment in the Playboy clubs around the country. They have to get into these ridiculous costumes which deny their humanity and their femininity. You make them look like animals. Yes, women aren't bunnies. They're not rabbits. They're human beings.
All right. The Playboy symbol, the rabbit, of course, and the...
And I get what she's saying here, by the way. I get what she's saying, but from her own logic, if you want women to be able to be seen as adults that are out and able to make their own decisions, that means if they decide to get into an outfit because they're looking for an opportunity by a guy named like Hugh Hefner or the Playboy symbol, which granted a lot of women a lot of opportunities, that's their choice, and you have to treat them like adults that can make their own decisions. And I think the feminists of this time frame would have been very disappointed to see what has happened in 2021, where if you give women that choice, you'll find that a lot of women will choose to sexually objectify themselves and use seduction as a means to get what they want. So, but one thing that I really want to highlight with what's going on right now, guys, is this is super important. Look at how they're able to have a conversation. Right, look at how they're able to sit here and talk to each other, and even though they don't agree, they can sit there without crying or walking off or boycotting or whatever it may be. They're able to sit down and have this conversation, and this is what national television used to be. It used to be two people with opposing ideas being able to sit down and have good discord about tough situations, about things that a lot of people can be emotional about. But in this time frame, people were tougher and they understood that their emotions don't matter. Your results matter. And the only way to get results is to have tough conversations. You can't just run and cry in a corner every time something doesn't go your way or because somebody offended you with an idea. I mean, truly, let's get back into the video though. I don't want to go on a rant on that, but let's get back to it.
The reason for having bunnies in the clubs, the symbol was originally a male figure, and it was picked quite innocently and simply some 16 years ago because we felt it was a rather playful and sexual symbol. The fact that the girls are dressed in costumes is no more complex than that, and the girls obviously don't find it degrading, or we wouldn't have as many working with us. In addition,
that's not true.
Just 1 minute. In addition,
Well, they're choosing to work with them.
I know that there are a great many women who feel as you do, but there are also 1 out of every 4 readers of the magazine today is female, so there are obviously a lot of other women too. In terms of degrading and wearing a bunny tail, the parallel that's usually made is, why don't you create a women's magazine with nude men, because there's some kind of a notion that taking the clothes off is a degrading concept.
Hey, Helen Gurley Brown wants to put a man
Yes, I know
in
she does, and I think she may
Cosmopolitan.
do
What do
it.
you think of that and her?
Well, that's another symptom of the same decadent problem, right?
Is
I
she
mean,
just a female half?
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of...
No,
she's
she
not.
isn't.
I mean, Helen Gurley Brown, at least, was the first person who ever said that it was okay for a woman to be single up into her 40s and 50s. One has to give her that. But she...
See, but she's justifying now because there's going to be a man put into a female-dominated magazine. She's justifying, and I'm sorry if y'all hear some stuff. I don't know why they decided to do construction right when I'm making my damn video. But, yeah, she's deciding to put a male, a naked man in a female magazine, and how is that any different than Hugh Hefner putting a naked woman or a half-dressed woman in a Playboy magazine? And that's where this stuff starts to contradict, and this is the problem that I have with a lot of what's going on. The feminine women, the women who have a husband, or the women who want a husband, or the women who go out and seek relationships to, maybe have family in the future, they don't have the time, and usually they're so feminine that they don't speak up about stuff that's going on. It's always the super aggressive women, the more masculine women that are able to talk about these situations and put their own points of view out as the normal point of view. For example, he's saying, yeah, you say that women don't want to do this, but they're coming to me even though I present the opportunity. Right? So he's not forcing these women to come to him. So that means some women definitely agree that it's okay. And then he says 25% of the readers of my magazine are women. So that means there's another chunk of women that believe it's okay. But what happened was those women never spoke up about what they believed in terms of these issues. And I had a video from 1960 where I reviewed it, and they were talking about, and it was the women talking about what they believed the feminist movement was truly about. And a lot of them disagree with the whole movement, but those aren't the women that you're going to see in mainstream media talking about these topics. It's going to be the over-aggressive women that want to persuade an idea that all women believe what they're saying, and it's generally speaking not true a lot of times. I see the same thing, the same misrepresentation happening with black folks. Every time I see a black person on the television, within recent years it's changed a little bit, but usually when you see a black person on the television, they're out there saying we've been oppressed and we're always oppressed and we got to do this and we got to stand up to whitey and this and this and that. And I'm like, that's not a good representation of me. I know we had tough times, but I'm here now and I got to make the most out of my situation. I can't tell my daughter when she wants braces that I can't get you braces because of whitey or because I'm oppressed or whatever it may be. I got to find a way, right? So that's kind of how I see that. But let's continue the video.
She runs a magazine for women who want to know how to get men, just as Mr. Hefner runs a magazine for men who want to seduce women. And we don't think that's a proper, that's a sole relationship between men and women, or even certainly not the most important one. And maybe that's the reason that all these things about male impotence and stuff like that you and Dr. May were talking about earlier has been going on.
I wonder if we could get
a hassle. In other words, if you have a relationship with somebody, why do you have to form a big thing? I mean, some guys you have crummy relationships with, some you don't. I mean, some of them are great, some of them aren't. Some of them look at you as a sex object, fine. So the ones that like to talk to you.
Those aren't the ones.
No, I mean the ones who like to both go to bed with you and talk to you. You do both of those things. The ones who like to make music and talk to you and go to bed with you and write or whatever you do, draw. You do all those things. I mean, I don't see where the problem is. It's just maybe because I don't see what you're talking about yet. But I don't see the problem yet.
I think we need another show on the subject. We have to pause. We'll be back in a moment.
Guys, and that's where I'm going to end the video. There's a few more minutes left of this video if you guys want to go check it out. But just my final thoughts on the video. This is great discord. At the end of the day, regardless of who I believe or who I agree with, and I seen something excellent too on the Ben Shapiro show where Andrew Yang came onto the show. And in the comments, it was such a good section because Andrew Yang persuaded and he spoke his ideas with so much intellect. Like, he was so precise when he was speaking his ideas that even the people who were traditionally conservative were in the comments saying, hey, I respect this guy a lot more now that I understand his ideas, right? And we don't ever get to see that side. We don't ever get to go look at, you know, some of the feminists and say, hey, I get that point. Hey, I get that point, because we don't have conversations, right? So we have to have situations where we can have good discourse, so that we can understand what we agree with and what we don't agree with, because if we just sit on our separate sides and just yell via internet, you're just going to surround yourself with people who only think like you, and you're never ever going to look at different opinions and things from different perspectives. So I really like that in this time period, and that's the best thing about what I just seen here, is that they were able to sit down and have good conversation amongst other human beings, regardless of if you agree with it or not. It's still good dialogue. It's still good discord, right? So of course, I side with Hugh Hefner on this one. I completely agree. If you want to respect women and think that they're obviously smart enough and human enough to go out and make their own decisions, that means that if they decide to objectify themselves, you have to respect that decision. That means if they decide to be traditional wives, then you have to respect that decision. And I think that there's a lot of disrespect of those decisions that come from the so-called, well, in this case, they didn't want women to objectify themselves. But nowadays, if a woman wants to be traditional, she's looked down upon or seen as less of a woman. So I don't think that there's truly an open opinion about women being able to make their own decisions. I think the feminist movement wants the women to make the decisions that they have agreed upon are the right ones for every woman to make. So but that's the end of the video. Till next time.